Episode 25, The Weight of Truth. The silence in the inquiry chamber stretched like a quantum probability wave, collapsing into reality one observer at a time. Dex watched it happen across 17 dimensions. Representative Zhao's anger crystallizing into certainty, Ambassador Reeves' sympathy solidifying into concern, War-Poet Kresh'tal's respect deepening into something almost like reverence. In the observation gallery, Sarah Chen kept her eyes closed, her grief a palpable thing that Dex could see rippling through the quantum foam of spacetime itself. "No authorization," Representative Zhao repeated, his voice sharp enough to cut steel. "You destroyed a 3-million-year-old precursor artifact, arguably the most significant archaeological discovery in galactic history, without authorization from any commanding officer, any governmental body, or any scientific oversight committee. Is that correct?" Dex felt Elara's hand tighten on his beneath the table. Her touch anchored him, reminded him which of the 17 realities was the primary one, the one where he needed to speak. "That's correct," Dex said. "But with respect, Representative, you're asking the wrong question." Zhao's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? The question isn't whether I had authorization." Dex leaned forward, feeling the weight of 50,000 station residents pressing down through the deck plates above them. The attention of 73 species focused on this moment. "The question is whether the crucible should have been destroyed at all." And the answer is yes. "That is not your decision to make," Zhao said coldly. "Then whose decision was it?" Dex met the representative's gaze steadily. "The conspirators who started a war to feed it? The species who would have fought over it for the next 1,000 years? The precursors who built it as a test, not a tool?" Ambassador Reeves cleared her throat. "Mr. Holloway, perhaps you could explain what you mean by a test. The preliminary reports mention the crucible's purpose, but the details remain unclear." Dex nodded, grateful for the opening. The cosmic crucible wasn't a weapon or a tool for reshaping reality. It was a mirror. The precursors built it 3 million years ago before they transcended, and they designed it to show civilizations exactly what they were. 17 species before us found it. 17 species tried to use it for power, for conquest, for certainty about the future. All 17 were destroyed, not by the crucible itself, but by what they became when they tried to wield it. He paused, seeing the memory play out across multiple quantum layers. The crucible's chamber, the voices of extinct civilizations, the terrible beauty of its dimensional web. "The precursors left it as a test of wisdom," Dex continued. "Could a species be wise enough to refuse ultimate power? For 3 million years, the answer was no. We were the first to pass by choosing destruction over dominion." War-Poet Kresh'tal's mandibles clicked in what Dex had learned to recognize as approval. "You faced the ultimate weapon and chose to break it rather than wield it. This is worthy of blood honor. The Thryn recognize your courage." "The Vexian technocracy does not share that assessment," Ambassador Kresh'tal said, her 4 eyes blinking in calculated sequence. Her scales shifted through colors that Dex's expanded perception told him meant careful political maneuvering. "The crucible represented incalculable scientific value. Its destruction has set back our understanding of precursor technology by centuries." "With respect, Ambassador?" Elara spoke up, her voice steady despite the tension Dex could feel thrumming through her. Understanding the crucible was never the point. Using it was the trap. Every species that tried to study it ended up consumed by the desire to activate it. The conspiracy proved that they didn't want to understand the crucible. They wanted to reshape the galaxy in humanity's image. Representative Zhao leaned back, his expression calculating. "Dr. Voss raises an interesting point. The conspiracy did attempt to weaponize precursor technology, but that doesn't justify Mr. Holloway's unilateral action. What gives one maintenance worker," he said the words like an insult, "the authority to make decisions that affect 73 species?" Dex felt the familiar sting of dismissal, the same tone he'd heard 1,000 times in his 6 years of invisibility. But he also felt something new, the weight of Garrett's words, Elara's faith, Strand's trust, the knowledge that he'd been chosen not despite being a maintenance worker, but because of it. "Nothing gave me that authority," Dex said quietly. "I didn't want it. I spent 6 years trying to be invisible, trying to avoid exactly this kind of attention and responsibility. But when I stood in that chamber with the crucible reaching into my mind, offering me the power to reshape reality itself, I had a choice. I could take what it offered and become something that wasn't human anymore, or I could refuse. He looked at each of the panel members in turn, seeing them across multiple probability streams. The futures where they condemned him, the futures where they understood, the futures where this moment shaped galactic politics for generations. The precursors transcended 3 million years ago, Dex continued. They became beings of pure consciousness, infinite knowledge, perfect certainty about every possible outcome. And you know what they told me when I refused the crucible? They told me they'd lost something essential when they transcended. They lost doubt. They lost uncertainty. They lost the ability to be surprised by their own choices. They became so wise they stopped being able to grow. He felt Elara's hands squeeze his, felt the warmth of her presence anchoring him to this reality, this moment. "I'm not wise," Dex said. "I'm terrified I made the wrong choice. I'm terrified that destroying the crucible will have consequences I can't predict. But that terror, that doubt, that's what makes me human. That's what the precursors lost, and it's why they built the crucible as a test in the first place. They wanted to know if any species could be wise enough to refuse certainty." Silence filled the chamber again. In the observation gallery, Sarah Chen opened her eyes. Dex could see her grief and her need to understand tangled together like quantum-entangled particles, inseparable and profound. Ambassador Reeves spoke carefully. "Mr. Holloway, you've mentioned the precursors multiple times. The preliminary reports indicate you had direct contact with them. Can you elaborate?" Dex nodded, feeling the weight of what he was about to reveal. "After I destroyed the crucible, 3 ships appeared. The Watchers beyond time, precursor AI constructs that exist outside normal space-time. They tested me, forced me into a space between dimensions where the precursors themselves could observe. They wanted to know if I'd stay human after refusing their gift, or if I'd transcend like they did. And?" Zhao's voice was sharp with suspicion. "I chose to stay human," Dex said simply. "I chose uncertainty over certainty, connection over transcendence. The precursors told me they'd been watching for 3 million years, hoping someone would teach them what they'd forgotten. They're still out there, still watching, still trying to understand what it means to remain connected to others, despite the risk of pain and loss." Kresh'tal's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You spoke with the builders who ascended and returned unchanged. This is beyond blood honor. This is legend-worthy." "I didn't return unchanged," Dex corrected quietly. "I can see 17 dimensions simultaneously now. I experience every moment across multiple quantum states. I know what people are about to say before they say it, because I can see the probability waves collapsing. I'm not the same person who left this station 3 weeks ago." He paused, feeling the truth of it settle into his bones. "But I'm still Dex Holloway," he continued. "I'm still the kid who spent 6 years fixing broken equipment. I'm still the man who hates attention and wants nothing more than to be left alone. I'm just also the person who saved the galaxy. Both things can be true." Representative Zhao's expression remained hard. "Your transformation raises significant concerns. You claim to perceive multiple dimensions and predict probability outcomes. This makes you potentially the most dangerous individual in known space. How can we trust that you won't use these abilities for personal gain or political advantage?" Dex met Zhao's gaze steadily. "You can't. That's the point. Trust requires uncertainty. If you could be certain I'd never misuse my abilities, it wouldn't be trust, it would be knowledge. The precursors had perfect knowledge, and it made them incapable of genuine connection. I'm asking you to trust me despite not being certain, because that's what trust actually means." Ambassador Kresh'tal's scales shifted to a pattern Dex recognized as grudging respect. A philosophical argument. Clever, but philosophy doesn't address practical concerns. The Vexian technocracy invested substantial resources in preparing for the Crucible's eventual discovery. Your actions have caused significant economic disruption. "I'm sorry for that," Dex said, meaning it. "But economic disruption is preferable to galactic war. The conspiracy started a conflict that killed 8,000 people in 3 days. If the Crucible had been activated, that death toll would have been millions. Billions. The Precursors designed it to feed on death and conflict. Every civilization that tried to use it ended up destroying itself. Ambassador Reeves nodded slowly. The preliminary evidence supports this assessment. Admiral Strand's testimony indicates the conspiracy deliberately engineered false flag operations to destabilize relations between humanity and other species. They needed war to power the Crucible. Correct, Dex confirmed. Admiral Chen and his co-conspirators spent years laying groundwork. The Korvathi incident, the Thrin conflicts, the Vexian embargo, dozens of small provocations designed to push the galaxy toward war. They believed if they could activate the Crucible with enough death energy, they could reshape reality to establish human supremacy. Zhao leaned forward. And you stopped them by destroying the device they sought to control. But you also gained abilities that make you more powerful than any individual should be. Who's to say you won't become what Admiral Chen wanted to become? The question hung in the air like a blade. Dex felt 17 versions of his possible response, 17 futures branching from this moment. In one, he grew angry and defensive. In another, he tried to minimize his abilities. In a third, he simply refused to answer. But in the primary reality, the one where Elara's hand grounded him and Garrett's wisdom echoed in his mind, Dex told the truth. No one, he said quietly. No one can guarantee I won't be corrupted by power. That's what terrifies me most. Not the abilities themselves, but what I might become if I stop questioning my own choices. Admiral Chen believed he was saving humanity. The conspirators thought they were heroes. Every civilization that approached the Crucible believed they would use it wisely. He looked at Sarah Chen in the observation gallery, saw her grief and her need to understand her brother's fall. The difference between me and them, Dex continued, is that I'm afraid of becoming what they became. I doubt myself constantly. I question every decision. And I have people. He glanced at Elara, felt the warmth of her support, who will tell me when I'm wrong. Who will anchor me to my humanity, even when I'm experiencing 17 dimensions simultaneously. Kresh'tal's mandibles clicked in approval. Fear of corruption proves you are not corrupt. This is warrior wisdom. Perhaps, Zhao said, unconvinced. But fear is not a sufficient safeguard. The Earth Council believes you should be placed under observation in a secure research facility where your abilities can be studied and monitored, for your protection as much as ours. Dex felt the future collapse into a narrow channel. This was the moment that would define everything that came next. In the observation gallery, Sarah Chen leaned forward. In 17 dimensions, Dex saw the probability waves of every person in the room converging on his response. No, he said simply. Zhao's expression hardened. That's not a request, Mr. Holloway. It's a recommendation that carries significant weight. I understand, Dex replied, and my answer is still no. I won't be imprisoned in a research facility. I won't be studied like a specimen. I won't surrender my freedom because you're afraid of what I might become. Then what do you propose? Reeves asked, her tone suggesting genuine curiosity rather than hostility. Dex took a breath, feeling Elara's support, remembering the Lumineth matriarch's offer, thinking of Garrett's wisdom and Strand's trust. I propose transparency, he said. I'll testify to every inquiry that requests it. I'll submit to medical examinations, though I can't guarantee what they'll find. I'll work with the Lumineth to understand my abilities better, but I won't be imprisoned. I won't be controlled, and I won't pretend to be certain about what comes next. He paused, seeing the futures branch again, seeing the paths forward multiply into infinite possibility. The Lumineth matriarch has offered me a position as humanity's representative to the Council of Ascended Species. Dex continued, I'm considering accepting, not because I want power or influence, but because I think I can help bridge the gap between species who've transcended and those who haven't, between certainty and uncertainty, between knowledge and wisdom. Zhao's voice was cold. You're refusing Earth Council oversight and accepting an alien offer instead. Some might call that treason. Some might, Dex agreed. But the Council of Ascended Species exists to prevent exactly the kind of catastrophe we just avoided. They've been watching the galaxy for 3,000 years, waiting for a species wise enough to refuse the Crucible. Humanity passed that test. Now we have an opportunity to learn from civilizations that have faced similar challenges. Ambassador Kresh'tal's scales shifted to a pattern of calculation. The Council of Ascended Species is largely mythical. Most species consider it a legend. It's real, Dex said. The Lumineth are members. So are the Precursors, in their transcended state. And now they're offering humanity membership, the first new member species in 3,000 years. That's not an opportunity we should reject out of fear. Reeves nodded slowly. This is a significant development. The Colonial Assembly will need to consider the implications carefully. Of course, Dex said. I'm not asking anyone to decide today. I'm just asking you to understand why I made the choices I made. Why I destroyed the Crucible instead of trying to control it. Why I refused transcendence when the Precursors offered it. Why I'm choosing transparency over control. He looked at each panel member again, seeing them across probability streams, watching futures collapse and reform with each passing second. I'm not a hero, Dex said quietly. I'm not a threat. I'm just someone who saw what needed to be done and did it, despite being terrified of the consequences. That's all any of us can do. Make the best choice we can with the information we have, then live with the results. Silence filled the chamber once more. Then Kresh'tal's mandibles clicked decisively. The Thryn Confederacy recognizes Dex Holloway as blood-honored, the war-poet declared. We will defend his right to choose his own path. Any who seek to imprison or harm him will face Thryn justice. Zhao's expression darkened. The Earth Council will not be intimidated by alien threats. It is not a threat, Kresh'tal replied calmly. It is a statement of honor. Dex Holloway broke a pattern 3 million years old. He deserves respect, not imprisonment. Ambassador Reeves raised a hand before the argument could escalate. I think we've heard enough for today's session. This inquiry will reconvene in 48 hours to allow the panel time to review testimony and consult with our respective governments. Mr. Holloway, Dr. Voss, you're dismissed but must remain available for further questioning. Dex nodded, relief flooding through him. 48 hours. Time to breathe, time to think, time to decide whether to accept the matriarch's offer. As the panel members filed out, Dex became aware of Sarah Chen descending from the observation gallery. She moved slowly, her grief visible in every gesture, her need to understand written across her face in quantum probability waves. Elara squeezed his hand. I'll wait outside, she murmured, giving him space. Dex watched her go, then turned to face Sarah Chen as she approached. Up close, he could see the family resemblance, the same determined jaw her brother had possessed, the same intensity in her eyes. But where Admiral Chen's eyes had burned with certainty, Sarah's held only questions. Thank you for testifying, she said quietly. I needed to hear it. All of it. I'm sorry about your brother, Dex said, meaning it. I know that doesn't change anything, but he believed he was saving humanity, Sarah interrupted. That's what I can't reconcile. My brother was a good man once, a decorated officer, someone who believed in protecting people. How does that man become someone who starts a war? Dex saw the answer across 17 dimensions, the slow corruption of certainty, the gradual belief that the ends justified any means, the terrible logic that led good people to monstrous choices. Small steps, he said, each one seeming justified at the time. First, he convinced himself that humanity needed protection from alien threats. Then that protection required strength. Then that strength required precursor technology. Then that obtaining that technology required sacrifice. Each step seemed logical, seemed necessary, until he was so far down the path he couldn't see where he'd started. Sarah's eyes glistened. Could I have stopped him? If I'd seen the signs earlier, No, Dex said gently. I've seen the probability streams. There's no version of events where you could have changed his path. He made his choices. We all do. She nodded slowly, accepting the truth even though it hurt. What happens now? To you, I mean. Will they let you go? Dex glanced toward the door where Elara waited, thought of Garrett and Strand and the Lumineth matriarch, considered the futures branching before him like quantum possibilities. I don't know, he admitted, but I'll face whatever comes, one choice at a time. Sarah Chen nodded, wiped her eyes, and walked away. Dex watched her go, feeling the weight of 8,000 deaths, 47 conspirators, and one sister's grief settling onto his shoulders alongside everything else. Then he turned and walked toward where Elara waited, toward whatever came next, carrying the weight of truth and the burden of choice into an uncertain future.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.